From the fragrant fields beneath the full flower moon east of Springfield, welcome to the Dr. Kitsune Odd Bob Uncanny Coffee Hour.
Where we are always respectful with a touch of impish irreverence. We tell stories with wit and wisdom, encouraging a strong look at indigenous perspectives.
And I'm a proud puka woman named Saoirse. I lend me bits of magic and shape-shifting voice talents to the show. And I'm not an idiot like these two yokels.
Brought to you this week by Dr. Kitsune's Ushioni Espresso. Thicker than blood, darker than a politician's soul. Drink Ushioni Espresso today. Get some.
Oh no, I had a baby.
Get some. So, hey, what are you drinking today?
I am drinking water with a little bit of lime juice in it.
Add 3 fingers of dark spiced rum and you're talking.
Lime juice.
Yeah.
Is it freshly milked lime juice?
It is. It's hard. It's hard to get the teats just right to get the lime juice out.
Oh, Jesus.
So, I'm drinking Lapsang Souchong.
Smoky.
You've had that before.
I have. Well, since this is a
Mine
carry-on
is
episode,
different every single time.
well, this is an episode that we are previously recorded. You know, I thought I would drink the same thing as I drank in a previous episode. And it's very smoky.
Smoky.
It's almost like drinking a nice peat smoked whiskey, but not quite. I'm not allowed to drink for like 6 months while I'm on blood thinners.
Yeah.
Jesus, Mary and Joseph. 6 months? Really?
That did not actually make it into last episode. You want to tell everyone why you're on blood thinners?
Well, because I had a previous injury in my heart and there was some scar tissue and
What was her name?
Saoirse.
Quit your whinging. You lost that knife fight fair and square.
No, I had a little bit of a heart attack. Just a little one.
Oh no, poor me, Joe.
No big deal.
I didn't know that there were ranges of heart attack.
Yeah, this was a no big deal heart attack. So,
That sounds about as serious as a heart attack.
well, you know, you got that normal background pain that's in your body all the time. This was a different sort of pain.
Yeah.
So if you feel that different sort of pain, go in.
I've got that pain and emotional pain. Like, which one do I listen to?
Go in for both.
Okay.
What are you drinking, Saoirse?
I'm having a traditional Irish coffee, including fresh squeezed cream and the tears of a drunken sailor.
All right.
Good to hear it. I'm glad you're in a good mood.
Oh, go on, go on.
She's always in a good mood.
Yeah.
Don't mistake a moment's peace for genuine contentment now.
All right. So we had an opportunity to chat with Donovan Yazzie from Diné people about the Ye'itso.
Sasquatch, or Bigfoot.
And he was telling us about his family and some of the encounters they had with
Big Dangus.
with the Sasquatch or the Ye'itso.
Yeah.
Big Dangus.
What'd you think of that?
Large member.
I thought it was great. Yeah.
Grogich.
He's a very, very cool guy. He's got a
very
lot of
good
cool,
storyteller.
Cool stories. Yeah.
And I think we're going to continue with that interview we had with him, with that chat we had with him. And he's going to talk a little bit about kind of the history with the Diné people.
Yeah. Last time he talked about his own personal encounter.
I had an encounter with a big Dangus.
And this time
Very hairy.
he was going to talk about the history.
In need of a shave.
Did we get to the point where he was talking about the little girl climbing down the cliff?
Not attractive.
So no cliffhanger.
Trim the topiary, you know.
There was no cliffhanger.
All right. Let's get started then. Let's get on with the previous episode underway.
Did you remember to cut the chafing talk out?
Yeah, I remember, Saoirse.
You need to cut that part out.
Well, you know, it's a coffee hour, but really it's only 28 minutes. So we have two 28-minute segments. That's 2 hours.
Yeah.
In Sasquatch time.
Time is all relative. It's all relative.
I don't have any relatives named Time. Got a relative named Herb.
In this liminal space, 28 minutes is an hour.
Okay. All right. Let's go then. Let's go then.
Oh, yeah. I've done that.
I've never heard of someone being able to do that without rubbing it raw in the process.
Light touch.
Well, I got a boatload of Dr. Kitsune's miracle oil. I think that might help you guys out.
Yeah, but the smell.
It smells wonderful, like cloves.
We should probably call Donovan, don't you think?
Yeah. Hey, Saoirse, would you mind dialing him up?
Not a bother. Donovan. Hello, Donovan. You there, love?
Yeah.
Can we pick it up where you last left off? I hear there is a cliff involved.
I love to talk about Bigfoot. Talk about Sasquatch. Yeitso. There's also the story of a canyon where they're hiding out up on high canyon. The cliff canyon and the cavalry were surrounded the bottom. And they made a human chain. They let down the smallest girl. She was skinny, she was small, but she was fast. She got down to the bottom, and she ran all the way across the canyon floor. She crawled up the canyon wall, the cliff, into the forest, to the pine forest, and she gathered up as much juniper berries as she can, and she made her way back up before the sun came up, because that's what we had to live off of to survive at that period. And, as she kept doing that every day, they're sieging us there. And this, as the day kept going, they noticed that she was getting faster and faster, bringing back more juniper berries, this time in a sack, like a woven cedar sack, something that's been pieced together by a hand, but not by our hand, not by our knowledge, something that's not from us, period. Full with juniper berries, and they're asking her, how are you making this so fast? How are you bringing back so much so fast? And she's like, oh, my hairy grandpa is helping me. When I make it up the cliff, he already has these bags ready for me.
Odd Bob, you're somewhat of a hairy grandpa yourself.
And there's this other part when in the mountains, this one band, they had to leave. And they couldn't take their children with them because some of them were physically disabled. And all they could do was put them in a hogan, out in the middle of nowhere, put them in a hogan, build a fire for them, and leave as much food as they can with them. And they cried. They left. They're crying. And then they went and played hide and go seek. 9 years passed, and the war is over, no one wants to kill Navajos anymore, so they start making their way back home. And that's the first place that they went to go and, find the bodies of their babies and bury them. That's what they're expecting, to find their bodies. And as they got near to the area, they saw smoke coming from that hogan, and they started crying and they started running. They got into the hogan, they seen their kids grew. They seen their kids well. They seen their kids warm. They had plenty of wood, plenty of food, and some soup cooking over the fire. And they're crying like, explain this. How can this be? Who's taking care of you guys? And they're saying that the hairy man, the hairy holy man. When we got sick, he would take one of the kids away for a couple of days, and then he would bring the kid back well. And another kid would get sick, he would take that kid away for a few days and bring that kid back well. So the other name is the hairy holy man that we give him. And even down to just recently, my wife's side, her aunt, when she was a child, she was herding sheep out in the mountain, and this one freak blizzard came. She couldn't see where she was going. She lost the sheep, and all she could do is just go underneath the cedar tree and just just huddle up with herself. And she was expecting to die and freeze. And she was getting tired, and she fell asleep. And then this moment, and then she noticed that she was being carried. She got picked up by something. She's being carried by something hairy and warm, you know, and she just felt so safe. This thing was holding her. And then, you know, she said after a while, this thing placed her down on her front of her porch over her hogan, facing her front door. And she turned around and she said that it was Sasquatch standing there, and he was backing up. And he backed up all the way into the tree line. He was watching her, and she told him, "Thank you, you know, thank you for saving my life. I love you." You know, just saying that, you know, being thankful to him, all in Navajo. And she went inside, you know, and she said still to this day, she knows he's around, or she feels it, you know. And she goes outside and she looks around and she'll see him in the tree line, either peeking the tree, and she, you know, then he reveals himself to her. He shows himself. And she tells him, "I'm okay. I'm all right. I'm safe. I'm still all right. You know, everything's okay here. You don't have to worry about me. I'm fine." And he disappears. He backs up back into the tree line. He makes his way back to his mountain. He has his own mountain here on the Navajo Nation. Then there's also the dark stories of Sasquatch, you know. It's I don't know, these things, they like blood.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's some horrible stories that I came across while investigating across Navajo land. Some scary stories, actually. Even the cops here will tell you to lock your door. You know, even some of the cops here will tell you there's Sasquatch here, lock your door.
I was telling Bob that you had so many stories. You know, we could talk to you for friggin' hours.
Oh yeah, yeah. About the strange and about the funny stuff, you know.
Are your people allowed to talk about stick Indians? Because I know some tribes aren't.
That's the little people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not supposed to talk about anything, actually. Not even Bigfoot. It's a huge taboo. You know, I'm gonna get some personal letters later. I'm sure of it. I look forward to it. But all this is very, very taboo.
Maybe there's a reason for that, right? Like, is that it can attract it to you?
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Are you worried about that at all, or do you do any cleaning?
I'm a believer, a firm believer in Jesus Christ, you know, because I have seen him work. I have seen him do miracles. I called on him when whatever was outside the trailers trying to come in and take us as children. And, you know, I played the Ouija board, you know, and I seen what that can do and what that can bring. And I seen Jesus bring back a puppy that was ran over, that was flat. And my little brother and I were kids at the time. We started praying for him, and that dog got inflated and he was alive. Wow. You know, just miracles like that, you know, and seeing ghosts too ever since I was a child. Yeah. So I don't know if it's just a gift or a curse.
Bit of both.
At the end of the day, I do. Yeah. At the end of the day, I still, you know, call on God because, you know, from time to time, he takes me in my dream. He shows me what's going to happen about a week from now or a year from now, 2 years from now. You know, I don't really know when it will happen, but he shows me ahead of time. In our language, in our way, that's called a dreamer. You know, the person that sees the future, because, you know, the dreams, it's just not a dream. It's a vision, you know. It's a vision from the other side. We had a leader, his name was Ayeli. Translation, that means the one who quivers. And he's one of the leaders of the band that my ancestors head out with. He, like, whenever the cavalry would be close, or enemy warriors, the scouts, he would have the chills on his lower back. and he would get the chills all over, and he would jump up and tell everyone, let's go. Or he'd wake up from a dream and he'll have the chills and he'll tell everyone, let's go, we need to leave now, let's go. He was really strict. He was always on the move all the time. That's why he was never captured. And then Geronimo, he had that same gift too. He was a dreamer as well. He could see in the future. So, it's just some strange paranormal, unexplained things,
We only had one guy like that in my culture. His name was Radar O'Reilly.
Radar O'Reilly.
Sorry. Yeah, that's cool.
So we were. What is your podcast exactly? What are you going to call it, and what are you doing on it?
The podcast is called "Don't Whistle at Night." That's the name.
Cool.
And this podcast is it's been at work for a few years. I'm really gonna need to start this podcast because there's a lot of other things that run around other than Sasquatch. We have the little people too.
Yeah.
And they like to stalk the women and children, especially when they're out herding sheep, herding their livestock. These things will be, showing them their teeth and following them along the cliffside. They actually stay in a ridge called Cone Ridge that goes from within the center of Navajo Nation, and it goes all the way into the Four Corners into Utah. So it connects to another patch of mountains and then Colorado. And Bigfoot takes that whole ridge line. And that whole ridge line is also home to skinwalkers, where they do their initiation ceremonies and their sacred practices for the new initiates, or sacred meetings for their secret society, for their deals. And the reason why I speak on that is because my family, we came from them. We used to be in that society before I was born, and we turned our back on it. We became believers in Christ, and because we've done that, our own family came out and started killing us. And my own family came out and started witching me. I had my hair cut and missing things, and I was having all kinds of horrible nightmares, and I was getting into accidents, and all kinds of horrible things were taking place. And yeah, it just gets it's just another can of worms after another can of worms after another can of worms.
Yep.
And I believe that exposing it, talking about it, saying, hey, there's this going on here that I think you should know about. There's something dark going on there that I think we all should know about. There's a sacred kingdom that is going on. But the podcast is like for the Native Americans, a podcast for them, because there's not really a podcast for the Native American people, to come and share a ghost story or Sasquatch story or a little person story or a UFO story, or maybe something even scary, and it's just a place for just a chill vibe, where everyone can just come and share, and we can all just share some scary stories with the world and for the outside world. And this could be another way of us introducing ourselves to you, showing our vulnerable side to the outside world, what we see here and what we encounter here. And this is going to be a different side from the Navajo people and from our native people that I would like to introduce to the wider audience. You know what I mean?
Would you be okay if we put a link on our site to you?
Yeah, sure.
Cool.
We just, I have episode 2 that I just got done editing. It's gonna drop this coming Friday.
Very cool.
And I got plenty more guests coming up, and it's gonna be some good shows coming up, and definitely would like to have you guys on.
So what's your next episode about?
Let's see. That one is pretty much open. I got a lot of guests. It just depends on the timing.
No, I mean the one you're editing now.
Oh, sorry. You heard of Thomas Seawood? Oh, he's a Northwest tribesman. He's a expert about Sasquatch. He has like-minded, like same thing we are, getting our word out there and, Native American knowledge and along with culture and history ties with Sasquatch, and that's what we can prove, on our heritage here on this continent is like, hey, we got ties with this guy. We got like over 300 tribes, and just think about over 300 different names he has, and over 300 different stories he has, So, it's amazing.
What's Sasquatch called in Diné? Navajo?
Ye'i-so.
Interesting.
Can you say it? Can Bob say it? I gotta hear you.
Okay, I'll do my best.
Yeah, for the audience.
Yeah, Yehi-to.
Oh, I was close. All right, your turn.
Ye'i-to.
Try the so with the T.
All right. Ye'i-to.
So. Yeah, right there.
Ye'i-to.
So,
yeah.
Is there an S in there?
So Yeti 2? He's a Yeti 2? Yeah.
Yeah, it was close, right?
Yeah.
And he's Ye'i-to. Then there's the six-toed, the six-fingered giants. They're the Diné, the Ye'i. And then their grandpa is Ye'i-biche. So he's the one that flies around on those silver shields in the skies.
Whoa. He does what?
He flies around with that silver shield in the sky that we call UFO.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's just another can of worms.
Yeah.
But, that's what I got from my Navajo culture side, all this knowledge and, it's just like, wow. It's pretty crazy just to think about it. And when you think about this world, the society, everyone shares the same mental delusion that they're they're doctors and, experts, but it's just if we cut you open, you're going to bleed and your blood's not going to spell out you're a doctor, it's just, it's just, you're just normal, and then these guys are the real deal, they're different. These guys can, like when they start running, this big one, I was tracking his like 23-inch foot track, 1 foot and one stride, and him walking is 6-foot strides.
Yeah.
And then when he started running, it's 9-foot strides, and then 12-foot strides and 15-foot strides each step. And then he started jumping, and it went to 30 feet to 36 feet where he's landing and jumping. And this guy can jump like 31 to 36 feet up vertical on a cliff and climb a cliff like nothing. So these guys are amazing. And like they can jump 1,000 feet down from slot canyon walls, jumping from cliff to cliff like those bighorn sheep.
Yeah.
These guys can do it too. But when they do it, they look like frogs. You know how a frog jumps?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like a frog. It's pretty cool.
Uncanny coffee.
Why we don't fit in, and we're kind of this plague on this earth.
Yeah, we're placed here.
Yeah.
By the Creator, that's for sure.
Yeah.
We're of His creation. We're of Him, and we're His children. And then just the Sasquatches, they could be His children too of the night, or they could be something else, because we had this back in the 2000s, this one guy named J.C. Johnson. He was probably the first well-known cryptozoologist here on Navajo land. He was investigating all the lizard men, the ET, Bigfoot, all. He has a channel on YouTube. So he had 3 trackers, 2 Navajo trackers, and 1 Ute tracker. And they said that they're on this trail of one, and they lost him. They thought that he got beamed up because he jumped up the cliff. This cliff was like 26 feet, and he left the hair behind. And they got the hair. They did the DNA, and the hair came back. Said that his mom is Native American and his dad is non-human.
Mm.
And they separated the dad's gene. They introduced the dog's gene to it, and that gene attached to the dog's gene. They introduced it to another gene. That thing, he called it bulletproof. That gene was bulletproof, and he called it a fallen angel gene.
Sounds like the stories of the Nephilim.
Yeah, that's from his evidence, what he gathered, and he passed away not too long after that. So mystery. That's a mystery.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does take women and children, though. That's for sure. Mm-hmm. He still to this day, when piñon comes into season, there'd be females picking piñon. He'd be tree picking, and then the females would notice them. They'd get up, and then he'd come out the tree, show himself, and they turn around, start walking to their vehicle, look back, and he starts jogging towards them. And they start running, and this thing's running towards them. And he grabs their jacket, and they get out of that jacket. They make it to the car, lock the car door, and this thing hits the car door and is trying to open the car door. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, we got a lot of that happening on the Navajo Nation, and even females running, going for a jog, and this thing's paralleling them, running along with them in the forest all the way home. They stop when they stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard that a lot. That they will just keep pace with you and just barely out of sight.
And just stay with you,
I'd like to see him try that with me. Well, we need to wrap it up, boys. May luck go with you on your journeys, Donovan. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, sure.
Very cool. Thank you.
All
right. Yeah. Thanks, man.
Thanks so much. It was great to meet you.
Oh, likewise, Bob.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
That was really awesome, man.
Yeah. That is really cool. I'm really glad that we got to talk to him and that he was willing to share his stories with us.
Yeah. And, where's Sasquatch now? We really need a hero.
Yeah. Yeah, we do.
We could really use Yitzo to come and save the day for us.
We need those anti-fascist Sasquatch.
And, just want to say thank you, Donovan. That was really great. And you're welcome on the show anytime. If you got any friends, please send them our way. And to our listening audience, if you have any stories, remember, all stories are true.
Absolutely.
Doesn't matter. We're not trying to prove anything here.
Yep. Send your stories to us at, I forget the email, but I'll insert it here. Yeah, I'll insert
whatever
it here.
Our email is.
Yeah.
For Jesus' sake, let me do it.
You can email us your story by sending it to uncanny.coffee.story@gmail.com.
And if you want to tell us, if you want your voice on the air, send us an email. We'll give you a call. And we want to reach out across the oceans also, regardless of what culture you're from.
Oh, yeah. This is universe-wide, not worldwide.
Yeah.
If you're in Alpha Centauri and you want to tell us something uncanny, feel free to just drop on by or give us a call.
And to our 2 listeners in Russia,
New Paruski? Yeah, I don't know.
Spasibo. Thanks for listening.
The only Russian I know is from The Hunt for Red October, so, Okay. Yeah. So thanks so much. And
Catch you next time.
Yeah. Saoirse, is it spud time?
Boys, it is always spud time. Thanks for listening. Join us next time for more uncanny chats and coffee and tea. You can find out more about us, read show notes, and get your uncanny merch at www.uncannycoffeepodcast.com. Until next time, remember,
never whistle at night.
Love your dog, but don't love your dog.
And remember,
We are not all monsters. Thanks to all of our listeners out there.
Uncanny Coffee Hour is produced by
Bob Messon
and Mitch Kyoto Kitsune.
Executive producer Gracie the Wonder Dog.
Uncanny Coffee Hour is copyright protected by all laws, foreign, domestic, and ubernatural by the Unseelie Court.
Huh. Bigfoot? Big Dangus? Something to contemplate while I have some more Spuds and Guinness.